Hi friends, today you're seeing me in front of a different background because I want to show you all the books that I bought in Japan and brought with me to Germany. And since I have quite a few books to show you, I would recommend you to grab a drink or a snack or something. Let me know how you like the new background, at least for this video. I thought quite a bit about the order, how to show you the different books, but I couldn't figure out how to do it perfectly. So we're doing it imperfectly, which is fine. That's what I'm telling myself. And I thought we can just divide them into fiction and non-fiction. And I will start with non-fiction, specifically textbooks, because I feel like this is the part that everyone is interested in. I actually only bought 2 books that are specifically for studying. So it's the Bunpo Buddy, JLPT and 3. And as the title says, it's for grammar. I bought this one because, as I told you in my last video, I kind of want to take the JLPT N3 next year probably, and I already know quite a lot about the N3 material, but I feel like sometimes I just need more exercises and I need to use it more so it sticks better in my brain. And most JLPT preparation resources, they are just like the JLPT, so they will just give you questions with 4 answers and you have to pick the right answer. But I feel like to actually be able to use Japanese properly, I also have to practice output, not just recognizing the right answer, because in a conversation I will not have 4 answers to pick from. And this book actually has quite a lot of different question formats, I guess. So it's kind of like a normal textbook where you have to actually write the answers, but it also has more JLPT style questions. These ones, for example. I'm really looking forward to using it. And apparently there are always 6 grammar points per chapter, and then you have 1 page for each grammar point where you have kind of an explanation, also a sentence to show you how the grammar point works, and then you have your own exercises you have to do. And then there's a little test at the end after the 6 grammar points where you actually have a text that uses the grammar points. You also have to answer a JLPT question, and then you have more like JLPT style questions as well. I really liked the combination between normal non-JLPT textbook and JLPT textbook. And I got this textbook specifically because Chloe recommended it from Straw Blondie Studies. And we also went together and picked this one up from the store. I'm very happy that she recommended that one. And she has the one for N2. And she said it was very, very helpful. And she even thinks about getting the N3 as well to review what she learned before. It's, by the way, also from the Japanese Times, which also published the Genki books. And I think also the quartet books, and until now I was quite a big fan of their books, so it can only be good as well. And the second book is called Super Real Japanese, and it's actually made by a language school. It's about expressions that are not in textbooks, and it's supposed to help you to have a better vocabulary and also understanding shows and stuff more, for example. And it's kind of very, very simple from the layout. There's just the English on one side and the Japanese on the other side. And there are different chapters with different themes. Chapter 1 is about real emotions, chapter 2 about real conversations, chapter 3 about real life routine, and chapter 4 about real dining, chapter 5 being in love, and chapter 6 sightseeing in Japan. I feel like when I speak Japanese, there's always something missing, and I feel like it's mostly like those small phrases that I can just throw in and fill the silence or better express my emotions. So I'm also interested to see if this will help. There's also audio available, so you can also listen to all of the expressions and also practice your listening skills. I'm very interested to use this one and also hopefully understand Terrace House and all the other shows better with their small expressions. And if you feel like you want to get those books for yourself, or also the other books that I used in language school, like the Try and 3 and the Chikyu Iko or the Kanji 2200, you might want to check out today's video sponsor, which is Verasia. Verasia is a European online store that specializes in Japanese textbooks, reading books, manga, art books, and even stationery. They offer over 6,000 different titles at a very reasonable price, sometimes even cheaper than Amazon Japan. For example, if I were to buy the Bunpo Buddy book on Amazon Japan, Japan, it would cost me 1,980 yen for the book and almost 3,000 yen for shipping, which adds up to around 28 euros and 80 cents. On Voyager, however, the same book is only 26 euros and 45 cents, shipping included, so you can actually save almost 2 euros. And if you buy a lot of books like I do, it can add up quickly. They have a German, French, Italian and English website, and they ship from their warehouse in Spain to most European countries for only 3 euros and 95 cents, with delivery taking usually 3 to 6 business days. I will leave all of the details in the pinned comment down below and also the description box, so if you want to check them out, feel free. And also some of the books that I will mention later are also available on the Voyager website, and I will let you know on screen if they are, so you know what to look for and where you can get the books. So let's continue with the non-language learning related non-fiction books, but of course they're still language related for me because they're in Japanese. Let's start with actually some easy ones. And the first one is Tanoshi Sekai no Kuni, and this is this one. You maybe remember this one because I think I talked about this in my Q1 review. I think I finished the book at the start of this year. I really liked it because it's actually very colorful and you can learn a lot about different countries. Some countries actually have 4 pages and some countries share some pages. For example, like those ones. Italy has a double page and it will tell you a bit about the country, so where it's located, what is the vegetation like, are there any dishes that are representative of the country, and there's also a double page usually on history and on just daily life. So for example, what does a typical day for an Italian person look like, which is a bit generalized, of course, but yeah, sometimes it's interesting to see the differences between countries and how the school system works or how just life in general works, especially for the countries that I didn't know that well. I really like the book. I can really recommend it because it's colorful, it's quite easy Japanese. I feel like it's N4 to maybe low N3. It was definitely a pleasure to read. And of course, I will not talk as long about every book because most of them I haven't read. For example, this one, which is from the same series, and it is about all the Japanese prefectures. And this book will teach you a bit more about things that are special in the prefectures, for example, and also why things are done the way they are done. And I haven't read it yet, so I can't really tell you a lot about it, but I have the ideal goal in mind that someday it would be nice to have traveled all the Japanese prefectures. I feel like this one is a good book to prepare and also discover some prefectures that sound very interesting, but that I maybe didn't know a lot about. And now we are coming to more difficult books. And the next one I also read, Manga de Wakaru Otona no ADHD Control Guide. And I talked about this one also quite a lot in my last video, and I also have a review on my Instagram page. But as the title suggests, it's about adult ADHD. Also, there are manga sequences inside, so you can understand better how actually the struggles of a person that has ADHD plays out in normal life. And of course, there are also normal text passages, but I really like that it's not just blocks of text, but also very practical explanations through the manga sequences. So yeah, I really liked this one as well. Actually, I should maybe clarify this again, and I'm sorry for people who watch all my videos because I feel like I say this now in every single video, but I got diagnosed with ADHD last year, and that's why I bought a lot of books about this topic because I'm still trying to learn a lot of things about it, and I feel like if I read them in Japanese, I can learn 2 things at once, which is why I also bought so many non-fiction books. And this one is from the same series, and it's about women, ADHD and autism. And it's a guide on how to live like yourself. At least that's the title. I also started reading it, but I'm only on page 33, so I can't really tell you a lot about this and if it's good or not, because I'm still at the start and they are currently explaining all the differences between autism, ADHD, how some people can have both. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into the more interesting parts of the book, of course, but yeah, it will take some time because, of course, those books also have a lot of medical terms and just things like hyperactivity or impulse control or things like that. I have to read quite a few times to remember all the kanji and stuff. And then the next one is actually the first book I bought in Japan about ADHD, and it's called ADHD Komplexu no Tame no, I don't know, something with brain training. Yeah, you can read it for yourself. I don't know how to pronounce the middle part. And to be honest, I don't really exactly know what it's about, except ADHD, of course, but if it's for medical personnel or for just you and me, because I bought this one when I visited Book Off for the first time. So I think during the first week that I lived in Japan, and I was like, oh, it says ADHD, I will buy it. But yeah, there's also no description on the back. There are also some pictures to explain things. I have no idea. But yeah, I'm interested to find out at some point. And then I have the ADHD to Jiheisho Spectrum no Jibun ga Mitsuketa Mirai, long title, but it's basically how to discover your own future with ADHD and autism. And it's from a guy and his mom, and they wrote this book together because he was diagnosed, and they kind of documented how he built his life regarding those things. And I also bought this one before I bought the Women ADHD and Autism book. That's why I have quite a few, and one more book, which is this one. And it's about how to use your ADHD to your advantage. When I listen and read about this topic, a lot of times it's like, oh, me, it's so bad, I'm so sorry to have this. And of course it sucks, but I would also like to read something positive to feel a bit better and to just take my future in my own hands and do something positive with it. There are also a few little drawings in every chapter from the dog that's on the cover, and I hope after reading all of those books a lot of things will make more sense, or I discover more things and more tips, because when I read the first ADHD book that I showed you, I actually discovered some things that I didn't hear anywhere else. So I hope there are more hidden gems in those books. And by the way, I forgot to tell you this, but 95% of the books I bought at Book Off, and I either bought them at the physical store or most of them actually I bought online, because Book Off also has an app, and you can also turn on notifications, and then they will tell you, hey, this book you have in your wishlist is in stock. And that's how I ended up with all of those books. I ended up deleting the app a few times because it was just too easy and too cheap to buy all of those books. And that's also why there's a stain, I don't know if you can see it, coffee or something from the previous owner, but most of the books are actually in very good condition. And yeah, this book is actually for the highly sensitive person, which is kind of related to neurodiversity, I guess, at least for me, because this was the first thing I got told as a child. The book is written by a counselor, and they explain why the things are the way they are and also how you can live better with this condition. And again, they have a few illustrations, and a few things are already underlined in blue, which is always nice because I feel like it highlights more the important points. And then I actually have a few books which are also all available on Eurasia, because actually I talked with the owner and I told him about the books, and he was like, oh, they sound so interesting, so he added them to the store. So now they're available, which I'm very happy about. And this is a whole series, or like part of a series, because I think the series has over 10 books, even more probably. And it basically says you have no knowledge, but you can read it with fun. And then it's always about a more scientific topic. For example, this is about human relationships. And then there is one about the nervous system. Then there's one about philosophy, one just about psychology, and one about sleep. And they also have things about math, physics, chemistry, astronomy, and other things that I cannot remember. But yeah, those were actually the books that interested me the most. And they are also kind of related to my struggles, I guess, because I kind of struggle with sleep sometimes, and my nervous system is definitely not very well regulated. And it's always nice to know quite a few things about psychology, to just reflect on yourself and yeah, what happens around you, you know, like how other people behave. I actually discovered the series because of Ari no Yume. She really talked highly about this book in particular, I think. And I think it's a very cool concept because first of all, the book is very cheap. It's just 900 yen excluding tax. So with tax, it would be probably like 1,000 yen. It's in full color, which is kind of rare. Sometimes Japanese books only have a few pages of full color and then they're just gray, or they will alternate between color and gray. But those are actually all completely in color and they have a lot of pictures to explain more what they're talking about. They also have the underlining already done. And then we have another book that I discovered because of Ali, and it's called Smaho no, and it's written by a neuroscientist, I believe, about how the usage of smartphones impact our brain. And if I'm not mistaken, they also have a chapter about ADHD, either in this one or in this one, which is also a book from the same author. This one is about how to use your brain to its best abilities. Oh, here's actually ADHD, so maybe it was just this one. So it's this one, The Strongest Brain. I don't know how to read it actually. I know all the kanji, but reading them together. And it's very funny how I ended up with both books because I was looking for this book, but none of those books had a cover on Book Off on the online store. And I was typing in this title and this one came up because it's part of the second title. And yeah, I didn't know what the difference was. I thought it was just a different printing. You know, like sometimes they will change some contents after a few years and then they will reprint it. Because this one was newer, I took this one and when it came, I was like, great, that's not the one that I wanted. So yeah, now I have both, but I'm not mad about it. And they're also very small and compact. Definitely a bit harder, I guess, because also it has no color, no underlining, no anything. So it's kind of drier than the other books, but I'm still looking forward. And then we have a very huge book. And I didn't know it was that big, so it kind of scares me now and I really want to read it, but I'm kind of procrastinating. It's called Friendship, which is actually a translation from a foreign author. It's a thick book. Actually, I think it has like 500 pages, 560, which, yeah, as I told you, is a bit intimidating, but I feel like I just want to inch my way through it. And even though it's from a foreign author, I didn't want to read it in English because, as I told you before, if I can learn something in Japanese, I would prefer to do it that way. So, big challenging book. And then the Honto no Yasumi Kata, which I said wrong in the last video. So thank you for the person who commented on that. As I told you before, this one is very, very good. I also read it this year and it's about how to rest properly. I also have a review actually on my Instagram account. So if you want to know more, check this out. And then there is another book by a foreign author that was translated to Japanese, which is called in English Essentialism, the Disciplined Pursuit of Less. And as the title suggests, it's about figuring out what really is essential in life, because sometimes in life we just get distracted by all the different things we have to do or that we should do, but that we actually don't really want to do or also don't need to do. I think I discovered it from a minimalist YouTuber. I think she said she really liked this book and it was on my wish list forever. So when I was looking for Japanese books to buy, I picked it up. And then we have one about Stoicism, Journal Like a Stoic. It's a 90-day Stoicism program to live with greater acceptance, less judgment, and deeper intentionality. I'm happy that's written actually in English because sometimes it's hard to pronounce things in Japanese. You know, I know what the title means and I know what it means when I read it. Reading it out loud takes another part of my brain that is not that trained apparently. And it's also again from a foreign author. And I didn't actually know it was about journaling. I just looked for books about Stoicism and it was the one that had the highest rating. So I just picked this up because I realized when I was reflecting about, you know, things that happen in life, sometimes I get very affected by things that I lose or, you know, people who go away. So I want to be less affected by things like that and actually be a bit more, you know, calmer and stay more inside me. You know what I mean? So not put all of my hopes and dreams into one person, but yeah, keep this all more in myself and what I can control. Hope this makes sense. So that's why I was interested in the topic. So the next title, The Courage of Being Disliked. It's also quite a popular book, I think, even in English. I mean, the title says it all. And it's also kind of related to ADHD for me, because I feel like if I'm true to my ADHD nature, I have to have the courage to be disliked, because not all the people like people who are a bit more fidgety or talk a bit more. So I thought it was a good book to read, because I'm currently trying to stay more true to myself and who I am as a person. Actually, you can see this in most books that I chose, I guess. And I feel like in this video you will learn a lot more about me as a person and all the things that I'm dealing with, I guess. Nothing serious, but yeah, it's just things that are on my mind. And then I have the book, Where Are Your 24 Hours Disappearing To? And I also saw this one on Aino Yuma's channel, I think in one of her like very early videos, and it was on my wish list forever. I think it was one of the first books I put on my Japanese reading wish list. I'm actually kind of good in managing my time, because I discovered quite a few tools since my diagnosis, but I still feel like it's a very easy topic, and I thought it's a good book to get into the more self-helpy kind of books in Japanese. So that's why I bought it. And it was also super cheap. I think I bought it for like €1 or something. And then the next one is called Raku ni ikiru tame no kokoro no chizu. Kind of sounds like cheese. The map of your heart to live a carefree life. Hard to translate. It has quite a few pictures. Some things are already highlighted for you. I just saw it at the bookstore and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like a good book. And then the next one is called Watashi ga Watashi o Tasuke ni iko. I will go and save myself. Basically, it's about a part of yourself that is called Night-kun in the book. And it's the part of you that's trying to keep you safe and sabotaging you. It's supposed to help you recognizing the side more and kind of finding peace with it. I discovered this one because I was feeling like I need more self-compassion and, like more self-love. So I think I just searched for a Japanese book about self-compassion or something, and this came up, and it was pretty highly rated. And then the next one I actually already read, and it's called Shiawase no Tetsugaku. So the philosophy of happiness. And this one I also discovered through Aino Yume, and it was a very, very good book. It was very thought-provoking, and it also helped me to reflect a lot on my life and what parts I can maybe improve to feel more happy. I can only recommend it. It's actually very thin, and it only has 100-something pages, and also the font is pretty big, and there are also sometimes pictures. The next book is called Thankfulness, and I bought this one because I thought I maybe need a bit more gratitude in my life, and I used to have a gratitude journal when I was a university student, but I feel like sometimes I just lose sight of what to be content with, and I feel like especially in the self-development sphere is always like you need more and you need to be better and you need to have more, and yeah, sometimes it's just good to remind yourself that you actually have everything you need and you don't need more. And then the next one is called Nigeru Yuki, and this one I got because it came out while I was in Japan, and actually quite a few bookstores had it on display. It's about, as the title says, the courage to run away. I always got told with ADHD that I abandon things very quickly and that, I'm going from one thing to the other. So I was at some point very proud if I stuck in a situation, even if it wasn't very good for me, for example, some relationships. And I felt like if I break up with that person, then I would be a bad person because I didn't persist. Basically, this is about how to recognize when you should actually leave a certain situation, and that it's okay to leave situations if they're dangerous for you or if they're not serving you, as in like they're not healthy for you. So yeah, I thought this was actually a very interesting concept because it's the opposite of what some people taught me. And also the cover is very cute. The next one is actually Atomic Habits. and it's also a translated version. But I actually also read the English version 2 times, so I just thought it's a good thing to get it in Japanese as well. So if I want to read it again, I can just do it in Japanese, and I kind of know what it's about, so it will be a bit easier to understand and also help me to get more into the self-improvement books. I mean, after reading a few now, they're not that hard, but of course they're more complicated than books for Japanese learners, so it's always good to have an easier version on hand. And if I don't understand something properly, I could always get my English copy and just cross-reference to make more sense of some sentences. And then the next book is about what if your life would end in a year. It's about a doctor who talked to people whose lives were kind of determined to end because of some sickness or something. It sounds like a good book to, again, remember what is actually important in life and to redirect one's focus. This one is also a little bit colorful, but not as colorful as the other books. And the next one is about 48 things that are important but that adults are not realizing. The publisher Gakken actually also published like the Mochi Panda books that I read, which are clearly children's books, so I guess it's also more for children kind of, but that's also why I got it, because the Japanese seems very, very easy, and there are also quite a lot of pictures. And I thought if I'm overwhelmed at some point with the more complicated books that I got, I at least have something that's easier. And actually it also has furigana, which most of the books don't have. And then we have 17 things that are important in your 20s. And I'm 28 now, so I'm kind of approaching the end of my 20s. So I also got the same one for your 30s. I just thought it's interesting to know what actually Japanese people think is important in your 20s and 30s, and also to find some things to keep in mind that might be important but that I don't know about, like investing or something. I mean, I've been investing for a few years now, but no one really told me when I was younger. I feel like I wasted so much time and I could have invested so much more and so much earlier. So now I just feel like I want to educate myself a bit, I guess. And then the next one is called The Magic of Memos. And this one I also got because Ari showed it in one of her book videos. It's about how to take notes in a more optimal way for creativity and remembering things. But the reason I actually got it is because in the back there are a lot of questions, if you can see them, that are good for journaling, and they have a lot of different difficulty levels. For example, they're also for like elementary school, middle school and high school. It asks you what is the most fun experience you had, for example, or what's the experience you're most grateful for, etc. And I thought it's a good inspiration for my own essay writing, because sometimes I just like to write in Japanese to practice output, and sometimes I don't know what to write about. So I just wanted to have a book to reference for some ideas. The next book is about how to properly organize and clean and stuff. And yeah, I thought it's interesting because I really liked the Marie Kondo method when I found out about it like almost 10 years ago, I think. So I feel like there's always things you could improve on when it comes to storing things and keeping things organized, because I really like organization, but sometimes it's hard to keep it organized. So I thought this could help me to find better systems. And also it has quite a few pictures. And I also thought it probably uses a lot of everyday language because it's about things around your house and stuff. So I thought it was also good to expand my vocabulary with actually useful words. And now we're coming to food-related books, and I got one about vegan restaurants in Tokyo. I don't know how accurate this is because it's from 2021 and a lot of restaurants tend to, like open and close over the years. But I thought it was very nice just to get some food ideas maybe, and also because it's describing a place and it's describing food, to have more words to describe things with, so to also get more useful vocabulary. And then I got a book about the vegan sekatsu. So kyo kara hajimeru vegan sekatsu. From today I will be vegan, or I will live a vegan life. I'm vegan. If you don't know, I actually went vegan 12 or 13 years ago. And that's actually how my English improved, because back then there weren't a lot of vegan recipes in German and not a lot of videos to watch on YouTube about this kind of thing. So I actually watched a lot of English recipe videos. So I thought maybe the same topic can help me to get good in Japanese. And also it's again another topic that can help me to broaden my vocabulary. It also has quite a bit of things highlighted already and a few tiny illustrations. And I also thought it looked very nice. I really liked the art on the cover, so whoever designed it, good job. And then the next one I got as a present, and it's a vegetable dictionary, because the person that bought me this one was like, okay, she likes Japanese books, she's vegan, vegetable dictionary. It's actually about vegetables, if you couldn't tell. And it tells you actually the nutrients that are in the vegetable. It tells you when it's in season in Japan and about like how it's used and stuff. And I studied nutrition in university, so again, reviewing what nutrients are in what vegetable is also a good thing. I don't know when I will read it and if I will actually like read it as a proper book or just go through it when I have a few minutes in the morning. And then I have actually a magazine, and it's veggie. The main topic of this issue is protein. And yeah, I really wanted a Japanese magazine, but I didn't really know what to get, because I'm not that interested in fashion. I mean, I like cute clothes, but I would not read a fashion magazine. And I feel like when it comes to food, you already know quite a bit of the vocabulary, so it felt like an easier topic to delve into. And it also has a lot of space to write translations next to the text, so it actually seems like a very helpful magazine. And it was also very cheap. I think I also got it for around €1 or something on Book Off, and they had all of the different issues. And then I actually also got a baking book, recipe book, and it's actually vegan, which is also nice, because I didn't know that before. When I took it out, I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And yeah, it happened to be vegan, and it's about how to make healthy sweets from rice. You're supposed to use whole rice, and then I think you soak it and you blend it. It's like the most basic recipe at the start, and yeah, it shows you how to make healthy muffins. And I really like to make muffins as part of meal prep, so I'm actually scooching through the site now a bit, because there's still books to go through. It's just those ones, not those ones behind me, so don't worry. But now we're actually coming to the non-fiction Now we're actually coming to the fiction books, and I bought quite a few that are easier to read. And the first one is Tenki no Ko, and the other one is Okami Koromo no Ame to Yuki. And I think those are pretty... I cannot. I think the stories are pretty popular. This is about a woman who bears wolf children, and I think about the girl who can control the weather. Again, I don't know a lot about them anymore, because I also bought them quite a long time ago, and that's when I read all of the descriptions. But yeah, I basically bought them because they are kind of the entryway into reading Japanese fiction, I feel like, because you still have all the furigana, but it's still already quite a bit more challenging than like normal language learner books. And I also read Josei to Tora to Sakana Tachi from the same publisher, and it was okay to read. I had some trouble doing a few parts of the book, but I used the translator to help. It was very good feeling finishing an actual fiction book, because I feel like fiction is way harder than non-fiction, because with non-fiction you at least kind of understand basic things. For example, if I read about psychology, I already know basic things about psychology, but I don't know basic things about a story of a woman with wolf children. So I have to understand everything from scratch, and if I miss some very important details, then I will ask myself the whole story, why? What happened? Why does it happen the way it happens? I actually didn't buy that many fiction books because of that, because I feel like fiction is still the next level after reading all of the non-fiction books. And then I got a 5-minute storybook This one only has a few furigana, but it's only 5 minutes. I mean, for me it would probably like 15 or 20 minutes per story. But if I don't understand everything, I can just read it again and again and again until I understand everything. So I feel like this is also a good book to start with when it comes to reading fiction. And then I got 4 books because of Rei from Haruno Hanashi. She actually showed all of those and said she would recommend them for about like N3 level learners, and that's me. So I bought them. They kind of deal with more like romantic relationships. For example, this one is The Reason That I'm Putting in the Effort Is You. And this book is In All Moments There Was You. It has a few like tiny essays that are kind of reflecting on relationships and stuff, at least. That's all I know. And then the next one is called Umaku inai hi wa amai keiki o hitotsu. And it's kind of like a gentle reminder to live more happily and embrace yourself, even if, you know, you fail or have a bad day. And also the drawings are very cute. Ray also posted about this book again, and she said she read it again and she likes it so much. And when I told her like, oh, it's still on my TBR, she was like, oh, you will love it so much. So I have high hopes for this one. Even though when I read kind of similar books in the past, I didn't like them. So now I have 4 books that are similar to the books that I didn't like, because I also have those 2 as well. And those are also very short, collections of thoughts about human relationships and everyday happiness, apparently. And then the last one from the 4 is this one, and I don't know. It's also about relationships. It's short. I don't really know what's the difference to the other books. I just trusted Ray blindly and I was like, okay, you tell me they're easy to read for N3 level, I will buy them. And those were also some books that I bought at the start, because actually when I bought all of those books, at first I was like, I don't know what to read in Japanese. I will just buy things people tell me that are easier. And that's how I ended up with those books. And then later down the line, I got, like all the Nigeru Yuki and the Atomic Habits book and the Shiawase no Tetsugaku book. I got more picky with the books that I bought, but at the start I was like, oh yeah, just take them. So I feel like I got a bit frantic and bought some books without thinking properly about it, which is not good. And I know that, but I just want to be transparent and real, and this also happens to me. So the next one is called Shinitai kedo totboki wa tabetai. So I want to die, but I also want to eat totboki. It's from a Korean author. And this I also discovered in the book video from Adi. It follows the Korean woman and her counselor talking about the depression from the person that's going to therapy. And I thought, again, good book to broaden my vocabulary. And it's written in a dialogue form. I thought it's also a good book to read spoken language, because language that's used in books is usually different from the language that's used in everyday conversation. That's why I got it. And then we're almost done with books, actually. I have Kohiga Tsumenai Chini, so Before the Coffee Goes Cold, which is a very popular book, or like not popular, but well-known book. And I feel like either people hate it or they love it. It's about a coffee shop where people can go back in time while they are drinking a cup of coffee, and it only lasts until the coffee gets cold. I am looking forward to reading this, but again, it's a bit more on the harder side and small font, no furigana. I guess it will be a little while until I read this one, but I also got it because there's also a German version and an English version, and I can just get the ebook and cross-reference, so to read the English or German version alongside the Japanese version. And if I don't understand something, I can just reread it in the other version and kind of enjoy this book, even though it's hard. There's actually one last fiction book that I got because I really liked the cover. I forgot what it's about, but I remember when I read the story, I was like, oh, that sounds so nice. Fumiko, who had avoided close relationships after deeply hurting a friend, begins exchanging letters with Haru, an alter ego born from the emotional scars of a popular classmate, Morita. As Haru supports her timid heart and helps her embrace herself, Fumiko finds herself drawn to him, only to learn that he is destined to disappear. So I thought this sounded very cool and kind of like an anime storyline or something. I'm just looking for furigana. I saw them next to one word, but I guess that's all. So it's more like an aspirational book for the future. And then I got some manga. I guess by now a lot of people know that I love the Oji-sama Toneko series, and that's why I got volume 6 to 13, and there was actually volume 14 coming out while I was still in Japan, but it's kind of heavy and I didn't want to carry even more books because I have a lot of books, as you can see. Also, the whole series is available on the Verasia website, and I also got some of the volumes before, actually from Verasia, before we started working together, so if you want them, check them out at Verasia. The last one, so we're almost finished, and this one is about a guy that is kind of caught in a BL world, so boys love world, and he says like he's a very straight guy and he will never become gay, but I guess we all know how the story will turn out. I only got the first volume because I actually told myself I will not buy manga in Japan. Yeah, we see how this turned out. But because they're very heavy, they don't have a lot of text, I'm able to read through them very quickly. So I told myself buying books will last me longer than buying a lot of manga, like with the same volume, because I only had so much space in my suitcase. So yeah, that's all the books that I bought. And I recorded for 1.5 hours. So let's see how far I can edit it down. I'm very happy with the books that I bought, and actually very happy with the books that I already read from those books. I actually also read all of the Oji-sama Toneko manga already. I forgot to say that. I guess now you can see why my #1 goal for this year is to read a lot of books in Japanese. I feel like when you reach that point in your language learning journey where you can start to enjoy books in the native language, it will only get better from this point. Because I also feel like this was the turning point for me when I studied English in school, because at some point I was able to read books. And then I just brought the books to class and read in my free time or when I finished the assignment. And it really helped just developing my skills and understanding the language. So I hope this will also happen in Japanese, even though this will of course take a lot more time, but I'm willing to put in the time. If you watched till the end, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. If you want to show me your support, you can post the book stack emoji in the comments and also tell me which of the books you would like to read. Do you actually like reading in Japanese? Let me know. Thank you again for Verasia for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to check out their website, and I will see you in my next video very soon. Bye bye!